On December 15, 1967, the Silver Bridge over the Ohio River collapsed in 46 seconds, killing 46 people, and every Mothman sighting in Point Pleasant stopped the same day. Not gradually, not over weeks, the same day. Roger and Linda Scarberry were driving near an abandoned munitions complex on November 15, 1966, exactly 13 months earlier, when their headlights swept across something standing at the edge of the road. It was shaped like a man. It was taller than a man, and it had wings folded against its back like a collapsed umbrella. Then it opened its eyes, two circles of deep burning red, not reflecting light, generating it. Roger floored the accelerator. The thing unfolded its wings without a running start, without a single flap, and matched their speed effortlessly on Route 62. They were doing over 100 miles per hour. It kept pace. When they finally reached the city limits of Point Pleasant, it peeled away into the dark sky. The Scarberrys weren't the last to see it. They were just the first to survive telling someone about it. And what came next would terrorize an entire town for 13 unbroken months. Point Pleasant, West Virginia in 1966 was the kind of American town that time had begun to forget. Population just under 6,000. A town that had grown up around the river trade and then watched that trade slowly die. But just north of the town, limits sat something that would become central to this story. A sprawling, decommissioned World War II munitions plant locals simply called the TNT area. Hundreds of acres of concrete igloos half buried in the earth, connected by overgrown roads, surrounded by a wildlife management area called McClintock Wildlife Station. The igloos had stored trinitrotoluene, TNT, during the war. By 1966, they sat empty and unlocked. Teenagers used them as hangout spots. Couples parked there. And something, according to over 100 witnesses across 13 months, had made them its home. The soil around the TNT area was contaminated. The water in the adjacent McClintock Pond was the color of rust. Local wildlife had been behaving strangely for years. Birds found dead in open fields, dogs disappearing without a trace. Nobody connected these things at the time. But remember that detail. It becomes important later, because when investigators started asking hard questions, the TNT area kept appearing at the center of every answer. Within 48 hours of the Scarberrys' encounter, 4 more witnesses came forward independently: Steve Millett and Mary Millett, Marcella Bennett and her young daughter Tina, Newell Partridge, a contractor from Salem, West Virginia, 90 miles away, who reported that on the same night as the Scarberrys, his television set made a loud whining sound, went to static, and when he shone a flashlight into his yard, 2 red eyes reflected back at him from the darkness near the barn. His German shepherd, Bandit, charged toward the eyes. Bandit was never seen again. The Mason County Sheriff, George Johnson, took the reports seriously enough to investigate. He described the creature based on witness accounts as approximately 7 feet tall, with a wingspan between 10 and 15 feet, and no discernible head. The red eyes appeared to sit directly on the chest. That detail appears in nearly every independent report. No head, eyes on the chest. Witnesses had no way to coordinate their stories in 1966. There was no internet. Many had never met each other. And yet the descriptions were almost identical down to the texture of the wings, not feathered but smooth, like a bat's membrane, a grayish-brown in daylight. But the creature was only part of what was terrorizing Point Pleasant, because the phone calls had already started. John Keel arrived in Point Pleasant in December 1966. He was a journalist and researcher who had spent years investigating UFO reports and unexplained phenomena, and what he found in Mason County shook even him. He documented 100 separate eyewitness accounts. He cataloged a parallel wave of UFO sightings over the TNT area. Silent lights that hovered for hours, moved at impossible angles, and were tracked by multiple witnesses simultaneously. But the most disturbing element was the phone phenomenon. Witnesses who had seen the creature began receiving calls. The voice on the line was described as mechanical, flat, and wrong, like a recording of a human voice played back slightly too slow. The calls told people not to talk to investigators. Some delivered specific predictions. Mary Heyer, a local journalist covering the sightings for the Athens Messenger, received a call in which the voice told her there would be a disaster on the river before Christmas. She documented it in her notes, dated December 9, 1967. 6 days later, the Silver Bridge collapsed. Keel himself received calls on his unlisted New York number, a number he had given to no one in Point Pleasant. The voice knew details about his investigation he had told nobody. He began referring to the callers as ultra-terrestrials. And then the men in black started showing up. The men in black reports from Point Pleasant are among the most detailed in any paranormal case on record. Witnesses described pairs or trios of men arriving unannounced at the homes of people who had reported sightings. The men wore black suits, black ties, black hats. Their skin was described as oddly smooth, almost waxy. Their eyes were too dark. Their movements were slightly off, like someone performing a very good imitation of normal human behavior but missing something essential. They asked witnesses to stop talking about what they had seen. They knew details about the encounters that had never been made public. One of the most documented visits was to Mary Heyer. A short man in black appeared at her office, asked to see files on the sightings, and spent an extended time staring at a ballpoint pen on her desk as though he had never seen one before. When she reached for the phone to call someone, he grabbed the pen, smiled in a way she described as deeply wrong, and walked out. He was not seen again. Keel believed the men in black and the creature and the phone calls were all the same phenomenon, not separate events, but different expressions of a single intelligence testing the boundaries of human perception. What that intelligence was, he was never able to prove. But the theory he arrived at was far more disturbing than any government cover-up. The accepted explanation, the one most scientists and skeptics settled on, is that the Mothman was a sandhill crane. They can reach 5 feet tall with a 7-foot wingspan. Their eyes reflect red in direct light. They were rare in West Virginia, but not impossible. It's a clean, rational answer. Hold on to that. Because here is what the sandhill crane explanation cannot account for. Sandhill cranes do not fly at 100 miles per hour. They cannot keep pace with a speeding car. They do not make phone calls. They do not visit newspaper offices and handle ballpoint pens. And perhaps most critically, on December 15th, 1967 at 5:04 p.m., the Silver Bridge, a 39-year-old I-bar chain suspension bridge, collapsed during rush hour traffic, sending 31 vehicles into the 40-foot Ohio River below. 46 people died. 9 bodies were never recovered. The official cause was a single corroded I-bar, link 330, just 0.1 inches of stress fracture, that had been developing since at least 1955. The bridge had never been properly inspected, but in the weeks before the collapse, at least 7 witnesses reported seeing the Mothman standing on the Silver Bridge itself, not flying over it, standing on it, looking down at the water. Keel's theory, the one he published in 1975, was not that the Mothman caused the disaster, it was that the Mothman knew. The Mothman statue stands in downtown Point Pleasant today, a 12-foot chrome sculpture installed in 2003. There's an annual Mothman festival, a museum, T-shirts, the kind of small-town mythology that gets built around trauma when enough time passes. But the people who were actually there in 1966 and 1967, the ones still living, don't talk about it the same way the festival does. Linda Scarberry gave her last major interview in the early 2000s and described the encounter the same way she had in 1966. Word for word, detail for detail. She said she was not afraid of being disbelieved anymore. She said the worst part was never the creature itself. It was the feeling that accompanied it, a certainty she could not explain that something enormous and terrible was coming, and that there was nothing anyone could do to stop it. 46 people went into the Ohio River on a Tuesday afternoon in December. The bridge had been failing for over a decade. The inspection records were incomplete. The I-bar had been corroding since Eisenhower was president. These are facts. But 100 people in a small West Virginia town also described the same creature, with the same red eyes, in the same location, for 13 consecutive months, and then never saw it again. What do you think was standing on that bridge? Drop your theory in the comments. And if this is the kind of history that keeps you up at night, you already know what to do. If this kept you up at night, you're not ready for what comes next. Subscribe and hit the bell, because the next one drops soon. Don't forget to subscribe. We uncover a new dark secret every day.